In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about betrayal and its impact. Okay, so a lot of things people disagree on, a lot of the things that couples disagree on, the ones that I work with anyway, that I've worked with, is the definition of cheating. You know, some people, some cheaters feel very defensive and upset that when you say, well, you've cheated on your spouse, right? Oh, he wasn't cheating, I'm not a cheater, and you know, it wasn't cheating, there was no sex, you know, it was just a brothel, or it was just a sexual body to body, but I'm not a cheater, you know, I still committed to this relationship. So the definition is very, very, very important. So betrayal is anything that you hide or do secretive, you know, in secret, that has the potential to blow up your marriage. It has the potential to cause problems in your marriage. That's what betrayal is. It doesn't always have to be cheating, you know, like sex or sexual cheating. It could be anything as a lie. It could be telling half truths, leaving information out, being inconsistent with your words and your actions, and all these are can be looked at as forms of betrayal. So what I work with, you know, from my experiences, is that the cases I deal with, right, the husband is the one that cheats the most. You know, men cheat more than women. Now, I have some theories that I've made up or looked into, and my theories are that the reason why I don't deal with cases where the wife's cheated, I mean, I have, you know, but you can count them on one hand, right? It's not frequent, it's not regular. When I'm talking about marriage counseling, I'm not talking about individual counseling, I'm talking about marriage counseling. My theory is that when the man cheats, then culture and society expect the wife to forgive and forget and move on. Don't talk about it. And if you talk about it, then you know you're causing problems. You're not allowing the marriage to heal. Therefore, you are the problem, not the cheater, right? Somehow it's your fault. So when the man cheats, the wife's expected to stay, expected to commit, expected to pretend nothing happened. But when the wife cheats, society and culture expects the husband to leave. Okay, so therefore, coming to counseling is there's some type of shame associated with that. So, you know, the man might feel that the therapist is going to judge him and say, well, why are you still with her? Because that's what's expected, especially if they haven't been to therapy before. They think it's like going to a imam or a sheikh or a priest or a religious leader. Doesn't matter what religion you follow. This is what happens when they go to religious leaders most of the time, is that expectation to forgive, you know, when it comes to the wife. But when it comes to the man, especially in our culture, it's like, oh, billah, you know, how are you still with her? So it's expected that he leaves. So that's why they don't end up in therapy, or because he leaves, because the man actually does leave if the wife cheats. Okay, so that's just my theory. What I assume, why I deal with men. So in my talk, I'll be talking about cheaters that I've experienced, and the majority are males that I've worked with. Okay, so one thing that people don't understand, is that cheating, betrayal, causes PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And what PTSD is pretty much an exposure to a traumatic event or a series of traumatic events. And when people try to get over cheating, especially when they don't get professional help, That's why it doesn't work, because they're not dealing with the PTSD. Just get over it. He said sorry. Or, the cheater might say, whenever the wife's triggered, the husband, the betrayer, might say, "Oh, you're still not over it? What's the matter with you? You can't even get over it? How many times do I have to say sorry? Or I already answered that question, and why are you bringing this back up?" And so that just invalidates them worse, which makes the PTSD blow up even bigger. And that's why these marriages, they become very problematic. Very rarely do they go back to being healthy, if they ever were healthy in the first place. But cheating causes PTSD. Symptoms of PTSD is intrusive thoughts. Okay, intrusive thoughts and repeated thoughts, involuntary, distressing thoughts. Okay, so this happens across the board with PTSD, not just with cheaters. So even war combatants, people come back from war, people who experience a terrorist attack, people who experience some sort of traumatic event, they have intrusive thoughts of the event. Okay, now what's worse, and I'm not comparing the disasters, right? But what makes it worse with cheating is that we know that with natural disasters and war veterans and people who experience a terrorist attack and survived it, stuff like this, we know that causes PTSD. So we treat, hopefully with care. But with betrayal, we don't consider PTSD at all. So the invalidating and the gaslighting and the denial and all the stuff that comes with it makes the PTSD worse, right? So, but the intrusive thoughts of, other than betrayal, is of the event, of the bomb exploding, for example. With the cheater, it's a little bit different. With the betrayed person, it's different. What that means is they're thinking, when did it start? Who pursued it? Who said I love you more? Did he say I love you? When did the thought that he can have sex with her occur? Who made the first move? When did this happen? When did it start? Did it end? Did you love her? Did you not love her? Do you still love her? When you went to the servo to get milk, did you duck out real quick because it took you an hour to get milk that day? So intrusive thoughts and very distressful repeated thoughts come, okay? So they have all these questions, and then we are telling them, and this is a symptom of PTSD. It's a symptom of PTSD. It's become a mental disorder, okay? Post-traumatic stress disorder. And that we are telling the betrayed person, get over it, you're still not over it, what the hell's wrong with you? Shut up and move on. It doesn't work. Psychologically, it doesn't work, okay? The other thing is avoidance. Is another symptom of PTSD. So people who've experienced a bomb or explosion or something, they will avoid reminders or places or people. Someone who's come back from war would not go back to war. If someone witnessed something in a certain area, an alleyway, they might avoid alleyways. Shopping centers, they might avoid shopping centers. So anything or objects or situations that trigger these events, okay, these memories. But with the betrayed person, they're living with their trigger. They can't avoid the trigger. Unless they leave, right? But the treatment, the way we treat betrayed people, I wasn't so bad, and what did you do wrong to him? You weren't giving him enough sex, maybe, or whatever. Yes, there's always a history of why, or there's reasons why people cheat. I do understand that there could be a background of a dysfunctional marriage. I'm not negating that. But our approach towards fixing these problems don't work because we're not considering the psychological factors, okay? So avoiding triggers, that's something, a symptom of PTSD. But the betrayed person who has PTSD, okay, sees the trigger every morning, every day, every night, in bed, and forever, right? So the trigger's right there. So the trigger responses are going to be more. And yet we're telling them, and we're silencing them, telling them to mute and shut up. And that's why it doesn't work. When they ask questions, oh, she's crazy, she wants to know where I am. And, Yes, it causes hypervigilance. It causes hypervigilance, okay? And it makes them very irritable. They might have angry outbursts, and they might blow up. And the people around them might say, well, this person's crazy. That's why this marriage is not fixed, getting repaired. The problem here is that we're not treating the PTSD. So in couples therapy, if you ever see a therapist who isn't treating betrayal, in a way where the betrayed person has PTSD or forms of PTSD. We're not forcing PTSD on people, but there are those symptoms. Okay, so they have all these questions. They need those questions answered, and the betrayer needs to answer honestly. The more he answers honestly, the less questions the betrayed person has. Therefore, if they feel that it's honest and he's been trustworthy, he's been truthful, then those answers put the pieces of the puzzle together. Because you got to understand, PTSD, it pretty much just destroys and crumbles life as you know it. You start to question what was real, what's fake. Is my reality even real? When did he stop loving me? Does he love me? There's another bunch of questions that the betrayed person has. Okay, so once these answers are there, that helps minimize some triggers. Okay, the betrayer needs to show forever remorse for what they did. Now this becomes very hard from what I've seen. Is, well, I said sorry once, I don't have to say it all the time. It's enough. No, that's that. You need to express remorseful behavior forever. So in 10 years' time, if it does get triggered or brought up, you don't shut them down and say, oh, why are you still bringing it up? I mean, yes, we don't expect them to bring it up all the time, but you say, you know what, yes, I'm remorseful for that. And I feel very uncomfortable when it's spoken about as well. But you feel remorseful, okay? So remorse is a prerequisite, a condition to rebuild that trust. So you can imagine when a person's cheated, it's the information is new, and they're not remorseful. They're very defensive. Well, I cheated because it was your fault, and you didn't have enough sex with me, and you weren't showing me attention, which all are valid reasons to be not for the cheating. There's no excuse for cheating, but they're valid problems, right? But then they become defensive, and it never has rebuilt trust. Never in history has someone became defensive and said, well, this is all your fault because I cheated because blah blah blah. Has that ever fixed the marriage? Now it might seem on the surface they fixed the marriage, but is the trauma still there? You can count on it. You can count that the trauma, the PTSD is still there, even with the wives who choose to be mute because they're scared of their husbands. Okay. So that's one of the conditions is to be remorseful and to answer the questions of the betrayed person. The betrayed person can't ask questions that reveal new memories, like explicit details. They can ask timeline questions, pieces of the puzzle type questions, but not questions about sexual stuff that will bring about a new image that wasn't even there in their memory, in their brain, that may cause further trauma. Okay, so this can be best done with a therapist, obviously. But as I was saying again before, seek a therapist who treats cheating and the betrayed person with the PTSD, or as if they have PTSD. Not someone who dismisses it or says it's nothing, just fear Allah, move on, whatever. You need to actually go down psychologically underneath all the stuff, okay? The other thing is atonement. So part of this atonement is remorse, answering the questions, and giving up power. Giving up power. So giving up power means, like, now the power where you didn't have to explain certain things, or the luxury of explaining certain things, now you should do that in this atonement phase, remorseful phase. I'm going this place here. I'm going to check in with you when I get there, and I'll only be an hour. And you make sure that you're on time, and so you don't have that flexibility anymore of just go and come. And when there's trust in a relationship, there's minimal control over each other. You get what I mean? So you lose power here. You actually lose power, and you have to give up that power. And this is where it becomes hard for many men that I see, is they find this hard. Well, no, I don't have to tell her, I'm the man. She has to obey me, and blah, 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 and hellfire is full of women, and bow down, and all this stuff that's just counterproductive, that doesn't work. All those marriages end up in divorce. And this is why. I'm being honest with you guys. I'm making this video. It's no secret. It's just, this is the stuff that I see. It's based on my own experience and on research, okay? So losing power is another thing in that atonement phase, which is stage 1, you can say. Answering all the questions, being honest, being transparent, accountable wherever you're going, wherever you're coming. When this happens, right, and the betrayed person runs out of questions, they feel, what, I feel like I have all the pieces of the puzzle. It all makes sense. I can see the timeline. I can see what's going on here. And I feel that they're being honest. He's been honest. He's been truthful. We go on in therapy with phase 2, which we call the attunement phase. The attunement phase. The attunement phase is where we now get to look into the whole entire history of the marriage, of them individually, background problems. We get to look at the marriage as a whole. Here we can see the friendship system, whether it was good or not good. We can see how they used to do conflict, any past injuries, just patterns and cycles and all this type of stuff. We start to see that there. So here we include, because it's marriage counseling, the husband and the wife. Doesn't matter who was the cheater, right? But we still remember who betrayed who, but we're doing the work with both, okay? And this is where the betrayer can start to, have their day in court, as they say. You know what I mean? As much as they still need to remain remorseful, but we start to look at what was missing, or, where they went wrong, where they both went wrong, okay? So that's the attunement phase. Here we teach or we show the couple to build an emotional connection, to reconnect with each other, to strengthen their friendship, right? And to have a strong bond. Okay, that's the aim or the goals of the attunement phase. And then the last phase of therapy, of betrayal therapy, is the attachment phase. Attachment phase. Here we look at how to prevent cheating from happening again. We create boundaries. We create like a roadmap for the future. What's next in our marriage, so it doesn't become stagnant, so it doesn't become boring. We create a purpose in this attachment phase, a purpose and a meaning, exploring each partner's life dreams. And after they explore them, they support each other in their life dreams. They grow together, they have shared meaning together. And there's a purpose, right? There's a purpose. When there's a purpose and you follow your purpose, there's less chances of cheating or betraying that purpose, you see. Studies show that people who cheat, their marriages lack purpose. They might be, it might be there, but they forget about it, or they're not, it's stagnant. What's next, right? This is what's come up a little bit. So this is why so I'm wrapping up now. This is why the typical counseling doesn't work when it comes to betrayal counseling, or why the advice of the imams and religious people doesn't work, or even of the families, where you got the family members on both sides, come and say, oh, just forgive him and just forget about it and stuff like that. He's so good. I wish my husband was as good as him, in the sense that he provides. And you get all this crap advice from people, which is really just you just grab it and chuck it in the bin, because that's what it's worth, right? From the majority of these invalidators, you know. That's why it doesn't work, right? And lastly, I'll leave you with this. Why do people cheat? This is another video, right? I know people are going to ask, can you forgive all? Can all cheaters, you know, follow these steps and regret it and never do it again? Can you really rebuild trust after, you know, betrayal? I'll make another video for that. Okay, and I'll see you there.